Hey guys, in this video, let's talk about arrays. Actually, let's start our discussion with arrays. So, we have seen the basic types of data structures, how to classify the data structures in the previous videos, right? So, in this video, I think we have to start with arrays, okay? Most of you may be already knowing it, but if you are a beginner, then it will be easy to understand the arrays, okay? An array means a collection of elements of same type. All right, it should belong to the same type. What do you mean by type? Type refers to the data type. Okay, you know that in programming, especially in C programming, you have four types of data, right? Int, float, character, and double, right? So an array should contain elements of same type. Okay, it may be an integer array which should contain only integers, or floating point array which will contain only floating point numbers, character array which is nothing but a string, and double which is again floating point values, right? Okay, so in C programming, you will declare array like this, okay, int a of 10, which means, so this one line will tell you a lot of information. This int refers to integer, which means that this array is an integer array, okay. This the array name is a, sorry, array name is a, and the array will store only integer. The array can store only integer because I have declared it as int. Okay, how many elements it can store? It can store up to 10 elements, right? So this is the size. It can store 10 elements. All right. So this one line is giving you three information. What is the type of the array? What is the name of the array? And what is the size of the array? Okay, and how does an array look like? Okay, let's examine that. How does an array look like, right? And an array look like this. We always represent an array like this. It may have values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a collection of elements, and this is an integer array. All right, to integer array, and this is a collection of elements, right? So it has 5 elements, so size of the array is 5 basically. All right, and an array is known for its access. An array is known for its access, which means you can easily access the elements in case of array. Okay, compared to linked list or queue, which we are going to see in the next videos, you can easily access an element in array using something called as index values, right? Change the color. Yeah. What do you mean by index values? Index value is exactly like a page number, okay, to access a particular element. You consider an array as a book, okay, you consider array as a book. Each element in an array is a page of the book, of the particular book, okay. So yeah, each element is a page, right? And the index is the page number, okay, which will help you to access the element, like the page number help you to access the page, right? So like the page number help you to access the page, the index will help you to access the particular element. Let's say my array has 5 elements here, right? So each element will have an index, like each page has a page number. Each element in an array will have an index, okay. And the index value by default the index value starts from 0, okay. The index value starts from 0, which means the first element will have the index 0, okay. The first element will have the index 0, second element will have the index 1, third element will have the index 2, fourth element will have the index 3, and fifth element will have the index 4, and so on, right? If you have more elements, the index goes on like that. That's how indexing works. And say for an example, if I want to locate the second element, I can go for this position, okay. That's the second index position. I can easily locate 3, okay. Let's take another example. Let me store a string, okay, a character array, which will store a string, right? Let me store some random characters. Okay, so I have 5 characters here, vowels, the vowel array. So what about the indexing? This is 0th index, first index, second index, third index, and fourth index. So each element will have an index. Say the array name is A. Okay, the array name is A. Okay, so if I say A of 2, if I say A of 2, I am indirectly meaning that if I use the statement inside the program, not at the time of declaration, okay, not at the time of declaration, if I use this particular snippet inside the program, if I say A of 2, which means that it will fetch the element at the index position 2, right? Index position 2, I have I, right? So it will return me I, which means A of 2 will give me I, okay, I, because in the second position I have I. Similarly, A of 3 will give me O, right? Because in the third position I have, in the third index I have O. Similarly, A of 0, that's the first element, that gives me A, because the first element is A. Likewise, using the index, using the index, you can easily access the elements, access any element from the array. So access becomes simpler in the case of array. Access any element using the index. So access becomes very simpler, way simpler in case of arrays. That's the advantage of this data structure. Okay, so the advantage is faster access, right? All right, but what about the disadvantage? Shall I talk about that? Yes. Okay, so the disadvantage would be the array is a static data structure. Okay, array is a static data structure, which means memory is fixed. Memory is fixed. Right. Oh, what do you mean by that? Okay, let me explain that. In C program, when you want to declare an array, what you will do? Let's say I want to declare an integer array. So I'll say int arr, and I'll give the size here, right? I should give some random size. Let me say I am giving 100 here, which means the array is capable of storing the array is capable of storing 100 elements. Okay, the array is capable of storing 100 elements. Once my compiler executes the statement, it will allocate memory. It will allocate memory for those 100 elements. It will allocate memory for those 100 elements once my compiler executes this statement. How much memory? If you assume I have modern compiler, then each array contains 100 elements. Elements are just integers, right? Because this is an integer array, so it can store only integers. So 100 integers. In a modern compiler, it will allocate 4 bytes for a single integer. Okay, so I have 100 integers here. So 4 into 100, 400 bytes will be allotted. Okay, 400 bytes will be allotted for this particular array. The memory space will be allotted 400 bytes, right? And let's say I am giving only 10 elements as input. Okay, which means I am storing only 10 elements in that array. In that array, I am storing only 10 elements. All right. If I do that, if I store only 10 elements, okay, so what is the memory required? 10 integers actually. So what is the memory required? 10 into 4 bytes. So 40 bytes will be needed. 40 bytes will be enough to store 10 elements in an array. Whereas we have already allotted 400 bytes. Okay, we have already allotted 400 bytes 400 bytes, whereas the case where for 40 bytes is enough. We can't once we have allotted the memory, we can't change it during the course of the program. During the run of the program, during the program run, we can't change the size of the array once we have declared it. Okay, so the size becomes, the memory becomes static. So which means it's unchangeable once you have started running the program. So lots of memory getting wasted, right? Memory wastage is there. That's another disadvantage. Okay, how much here in this example? 400 minus 40. You are just wasting 360 bytes of memory, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's the disadvantage of arrays. Okay. Guys, let me quickly explain you how to get an array as an input. An array as a user input. How to get that? Okay, right. Let me write the code here. Please carefully watch if you don't know this particular concept, right? So 10. Okay, I am declaring an integer array which is of size 10, and I am declaring one more integer. Always I should have this integer, say n, which will get something from the user. Okay. I'm writing an algorithm. I'm not writing the exact C program. So I'm writing in pseudocode. The people used to call the pseudocode an algorithm, which can be as your own language. Okay. So get n from the user. Okay. So I'm just getting n, which means I'm scanning some value from the user. Okay. Okay. After that we'll trace it. Okay. And based on n, I'm gonna iterate a for loop. You know about for loops, right? You should know. So in each iteration I am just scanning something and I am storing it in the array. Okay, that's it. So that's how the algorithm goes. An array as an user input. So let me trace this is the declaration. Okay, so an array is created with 10 bytes of memory. So let me create that array, right? Okay, each has an index position, right? Let me mention also that. Okay, okay, 10 are there, but there is no space, so please adjust. Okay, let's say I'm giving n as so n is getting declared, that's okay, and I'm giving n as 5. Okay, so n equals to 5, which means I'm gonna use 5 spaces. Okay, and for loop starts from 0 and it goes up to n. Okay, so during the first iteration, for loop is I is 0 and I'm scanning some value a of 0. Okay, I is 0 during the first iteration, guys. So scanning a of 0, right? So a of 0, scanning means I'm scanning some value from the keyboard. I'm getting some value from the user and I'm storing it. You can see the address symbol here. I'm storing it in a of 0. Okay, I'm storing it in a of 0. Let's say I'm storing 5. Okay, so 0 will be having 5, right? During the next iteration, you can see I gets incremented. Okay, I gets incremented. So I gets incremented. So I becomes 1, and again scan statement will be executed. So a of 1. Let's say I'm giving 50. So 50 will be stored in the first index because a of 1. Okay, I represents the index position always. And during the next iteration, I becomes 2 and I'm scanning some value. A of 2 is say 27. So 27 will be stored in the second position, right? So 27 here. Likewise, it goes on. That's how you can get an array as a user input, right? And the time complexity of this particular statement is O of n, right? You know that, right? O of n for a single for loop. So if you want to get user input as an array, the time complexity for this problem is O of n, big O, right? Okay, thanks a lot.